How are you?
Hi, Jen. I'm doing pretty good.
Repping your Jags, I see.
Oh, yeah. Best
And
team in the league.
yeah,
Um,
did you see our new coach?
oh, man.
Duval. Liz and I
Seriously,
are
though,
from
who's in charge of what is that going to be called? Like
PR.
PR market? Like you coach the new coach on how to say things before he gets in front of a microphone and record. I mean,
Did I
poor
teach
guy.
him?
He's
I
never
have
going to
a
live that
great
down.
Duval. A great one.
You should. Let's hear it.
I'm twinning with you on my coffee
I
koozies
love
today.
it.
My Duval, I can't do it under pressure.
I understand.
I
Okay,
can't.
it
Well,
might just happen at any point during the podcast and we'll understand.
when I feel inspired, I'll Duval for you guys.
Okay.
Or maybe you'll just have to keep coming and watching more episodes if you ever want to see my Duval.
Maybe 2025 is the season for the Jags, and then we will have a reason to Duval on the podcast.
I won't hold my breath, but I love your optimism. I do.
Thank
I love your
you.
optimism.
Said like a true Jaguars fan. You
It's
just have to ride that wave. So since we're talking about grief on this
I felt like the Jags was the perfect segue into grief today. Oh, I love it. It is Super Bowl is coming up. I don't care about sports though, as you know.
I don't either.
I feel like I'm just like a Jag by default, but like we
Right.
all know Jenn Hall is not sports. I do love my UCF football players, but like I'm not I mean, if they lose, they lose. It is what it is. Your college kids playing a ball game. I hope you make money. Godspeed. Anyways, grief. The dark side of grief actually is what I wanted to discuss today. So this is just, you're right. This was just the perfect topic to bring up. It's like you really like honed in on the topic today. And so you dressed the part.
I dressed the part.
And I just dressed black because it tracks.
It's new.
It's very
Your
neat.
favorite color.
Dark with my hair, dark with my clothes. We're just in the darkness lately.
Ooh.
We're not. I'm good.
Are you though?
Things you don't say to a medical professional. Unless you mean
I'll be calling Jennifer after this recording.
check on her one-on-one. Okay, so I came to like a revelation. I should practice my vocabulary before we get on these podcasts.
Did
I
you
like
say
always
revolution?
revelation, right? Like
Uh-huh.
I don't know.
Like an epiphany.
Yeah, an epiphany, maybe. But like I think epiphanies are supposed to be good, like good aha things, not like, oh, that's disturbing aha things.
Okay.
And this is a disturbing aha.
Great.
So I guess not my church is not the only one that does this because I heard somebody talking about it. Maybe it was on an Instagram story or something, but I guess there's several churches that do 21 days of prayer and fasting in January.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And my church previously didn't do this, so this was new to me. Not prayer and fasting, but like doing it for like a 21-day thing.
We went to a church that didn't pray.
I'm working on it. Okay, we at the last week of it, so it had ended, the 21 days was up, and then the service that Sunday, he started it off basically by saying, like, a lot of times when we pray, we're asking for something. Or we're talking to God, we're doing whatever, but a lot of times like we're asking for something, healing, whatever it might be. And he was like, so today I just want to start off with like, now that we've done that for 21 days, like I want you to pick one thing and we're just going to like thank God for that. Like we're going to start with like gratefulness and thankfulness and what is one thing that you're thankful for. And my immediate thought was like, boom, mine's protection. And I was like, huh. And it's not that that one thing was super eye-opening to me, but I started to notice. So I had written, as you know, when I'm thinking of podcast topics, I like writing a note. And when I had thought on this topic previously, I kind of wrote, I feel like we talk a lot about perspective, gratitude, therapy, healing, all these things, but I want to be very real with people who have experienced grief and they're not on that other side of it yet. And they're still like in the depths, and be very honest in saying that like there are still very dark sides to grief, and I experience them too. Like I'm not beyond that, above that, like excluded from that. Like there's things that mentally. I've learned to work around them,
Mhm.
but it comes from grief, and I feel like it's a very true but dark side to grief. Um, and what I mean by that is, when I one of those things, like, I think about death. In my mind, it's more than I feel like most people think about. I don't know.
Mhm.
I could be wrong. I don't know what goes in other people's minds, but I feel like there's multiple times a day I have to be like, "Don't think about that." Like,
Sure.
consciously tell myself, like, "You can't think like that." Like, don't get in the car and be like, "Oh my god, what if I pull out right now and somebody T-bones us and we all die?" Or something happens to my kids or whatever. Like,
Mhm.
and those thoughts cross my mind so often.
Mhm.
And to me, it's because I've lost people to just crazy things,
Mhm.
along with my dad to murder, my little brother to suicide
Mhm.
by a gun, and then my best friend in a car accident. And
Mm.
it's like, I should probably, it was one of our best friends actually. Liz knows him too. But
Yeah.
uh, I think of those things more often than I would like to, more often than
Yeah.
I'd like to admit, and more often than I'd like to experience.
Yeah.
Um, and I worry about my kids, and
Mhm.
I feel like almost like I don't want to say gory, but like I can't think of the word. See, I'm going to start studying vocabulary. That's my 2025 goal. But I worry about them in more of like maybe a morbid way
Mm.
than,
Or, like, catastrophic, like, they could
yeah,
die.
yeah, not in like oh, are they going to have a good day today? Oh, like the fine, like the smaller things. It's like,
Mhm.
oh my God, I saw this person on Instagram lost their kid to this. Like, what if that happens to my kid? And I
Mhm.
think that probably triggers a lot of things in people's minds, but I feel like that's all of my concerns are like a very high stakes, high level thing. Like, they're
Yeah.
not, my kid busted their knee open, they need stitches. I'm like, cool, you're alive,
Yeah.
but those aren't the things that I worry about.
Right.
And so I have had to train myself to almost like stop those thoughts when they're coming and be
Mhm.
like, is this productive? Is this healthy? No. And then I just kind of refocus on whatever I'm thinking about. I'm like, let's think about something else.
Mhm.
It is a conscious thing I have to do because those thoughts come to me so subconsciously. And
So, can I ask you a question about
mhm,
that?
yeah.
So, the learning to have awareness,
Mhm.
this thought might not be serving me, and or, like, what you just said, those questions. Is this good for me? Is this productive? Is this gonna lead somewhere? And then choosing to change your thought. How did you do that? Because I think that is where people get stuck, and or that's where they spend time in therapy, is the strategy or something. Like, I guess I'm thinking, are those questions what helped you? Asking yourself, like, is this productive? Or um I
Yeah.
guess once you started building that awareness, what do you think helped you change your thought to something else?
Man, that's honestly, it's a really good question because I don't think there was ever a moment where I was like, this is a problem. I need to fix it.
Mhm.
It wasn't like I went into therapy and was like, oh, these thoughts are crowding my mind. I don't know what to
Mhm.
do. And it was
Mhm.
tools. I think it might have been more of a combination of things. I will
Mm.
say, learning what anxiety felt like for me
Yeah.
was probably the thing that made me notice it.
Okay.
And then learning how my brain works, learning how my responses are and my personality through therapy, kind of learning more about myself, which sounds weird to
Mhm.
say. You think you know yourself better than anyone else. And I don't agree with that. I think you learn yourself through therapy. Like, you learn so much.
Yeah.
And I think once I learned that, it was kind of like I was able to develop that thought for myself of like, okay, these thoughts give me anxiety and I don't like it. Um,
Mhm.
it was, I feel like I could, so before William died, I feel like if you ever were to ask me if I've had anxiety, I would tell you no. I'd be
Mm.
like, never a day in my life have I been anxious, had anxiety, any of that.
Sure.
And I almost hated finding out what anxiety felt like. Once my therapist told me that the physical thing I was experiencing was anxiety, I realized how much anxiety I had.
You're like, "What?"
I was like, "Oh, wait." So
Mm.
for me, and she did tell me, and you can confirm, it presents itself different in different
Yeah.
people. And I'm sure there's
Anxiety
like, common things, but for me, I get like a pit in my stomach. It's like I feel
Mhm.
sick, but not a nauseous sick, but I get this pit in my stomach. It sounds so ridiculous and so obvious now that I'm like, how did I not? But I guess I always ignored those things before. I'm just like, oh, like I just thought it was a physical thing, not like
Mhm.
a mental thing that I was physically like embodying, right? And
Mhm.
so when I realized that that pit in my stomach feeling is anxiety for me, I started to notice what gave me anxiety.
Got it.
So, because there are times I would feel that and I'm like, why do I feel this way?
Mm.
Then once I realized you're anxious right now, then I
Mm.
can say, what are you anxious about? And then the next question for myself is how do I make it stop?
Mhm.
How do I make myself not anxious about this, you know?
Mhm.
And
So you started labeling the feeling for what it was,
yes.
and that opened up a whole new thought process.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Of where I could be like, is oh, that thought or this whatever doesn't make me feel good. I'm starting to feel anxious or worried. And like we've talked about how worry does not serve a
Mm.
purpose either. Like
Mhm.
I don't worrying is not going to change the outcome. And I
Mhm.
have this is not it's still I'm not saying that I never worry, but I notice when I'm worrying about something at the end of the day, all it does is make me sick to my stomach. It gives me anxiety. It gives me all
Mhm.
these other things that I don't like to feel physically or mentally. I can't
Mhm.
be the best wife and mom and friend when I am worried or anxious. So if there's
Mhm.
something I can do to stop those feelings and show up better for people, I feel better
Mhm.
about myself. I
Sure.
can be there for other people more. And like as a mom, you don't really have that choice sometimes. Like you got to like get it together,
Mhm.
right? And if I'm
Right.
anxious or worried, like I'm very snappy with my kids. I'm not patient.
Girl.
There's just we've all been there, right? But I think a big part of it for me was being able to label that feeling.
Yeah.
And in different situations, I address it differently.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense to me.
So, and I think another thing too, another way I learned to deal with it is it's funny because in my mind, I separate like businesses and then like what we're doing here, like
Mhm.
this trying to serve or help or fulfill, something missing in somebody's life or just, be a support system type thing. But at the end of the day, when I think about a lot of the ways that I do that was also instilled through business principles, which sounds,
Mm.
I think like people are like, what, where is she going with this? Like very scatterbrained. So I had actually posted something yesterday on my Instagram that Alex Hormozy, if you
Okay.
don't follow him, now he is known. You know what? I'd be interested to see what somebody thinks of him or who they think he is if they start following him like today,
Now.
and
Mhm.
start watching his
Right.
business stuff because so I knew who Alex was before he was somebody.
Sure.
He he started and how he made all his money and success was actually like helping gyms run and market programs.
Right.
And so it was like a 6-week challenge and he figured out that he's literally brilliant. Like his mind is insane and he basically figured out like the back end of Facebook marketing and how to kind of make it work for you and he taught you how to do it. He taught you how to
Right. Yeah.
not only market something but how to then sell that thing and how to make it work for your business and how to turn your business around. All these things, right? So through this, I promise this is going to circle back. The backstory on when we hired him, he was not cheap, not cheap at all. But the gym was in a spot where we were like, we either take this huge leap and we make it, or probably
Mhm.
done either way. Like
Mhm.
we're just sitting here coasting and slowly going down a hill, right? Like we've got to
Mhm.
do something. So we kind of felt like our backs were to the wall and we either take the leap or we don't, right?
Mhm.
And so for context, I will say he posted a reel yesterday that got my mind thinking about all this. And he said, your back being to the wall is a good thing because you have nothing to lose. And I immediately thought back to when we hired him 8, 9 years ago, for literally what feels like forever ago. And they told us that this program was going to be $16,000. And I was like, did you miss the part where I told you
I don't got no money.
we're about to struggle financially and I need to
Yeah.
turn this gym around? And he was like, yeah, but if you do this, you're going to make that money so fast that you'll be able to pay it back to me. And I was
Mhm.
just like, I don't believe you. So I did believe him though. I did believe
Sure.
him. I was like, I don't really what do I have to lose at this point, right?
Yeah.
I mean, other than 16 grand.
Other than my money. Yeah.
Yeah. So the idea was though, it wasn't that I needed to come up with 16 grand. It was that you had like a certain amount of weeks to set your systems up. And once you started, you'd pay him a grand a week for 16 weeks, but you were committed to that amount. So it backed me into a corner of a place. I had no choice but to make it work, right?
Mhm.
No choice. I was like, this either works and I can pay him, or I guess then we figure out the next thing.
Yeah.
Well, so we did it. And in his reel yesterday, he was talking about your back being to a wall, and he said, so worst case, you take the risk or you do something and you fail. And people won't try things usually because they're scared of rejection, they're scared of failure, right?
Right.
He's like, so if you fail, what happens? You're literally back to square one, but you have more experience.
Yeah.
And I never thought of it that way before. I was like,
Mhm.
man, there's all these times in my life where I've either, just metaphorically had my back to a wall, and you
Mm.
kind of feel like there's nothing to lose,
Mhm.
but that's where you get the experience. That's where you change. That's where you do things that the day before might have felt like a huge risk. But his point was like, if you have nothing, like if you're broke, if you're all these things, like literally what do you have to lose from knocking on a door and asking a question, or all,
Right.
like you have nothing. Why are you so scared to do it?
Mhm.
And kind of through those principles, I think they kind of like rolled over into grief too, right? So in business, it's like your back's to the wall, whether it's financially, usually it's going to be financially to me in a business.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, but then I think you get to that part in your personal life
Mhm.
where when you lose someone, you feel like you have nothing to lose because
Mm.
you realize how big of a loss that is. So, like, I feel like most things people feel on the daily are stress of maybe work, finances, um, like marital issues, all of those things. But at the end of the day, like, those can be solved and you lose nothing by trying to solve them, right? When you lose someone, there's nothing to solve. You can't
Right.
fix that. And
Right.
to me,
Mm.
loss and grief puts those things in a different category of like, that's just not that important.
Yeah.
It's like I am willing to take a risk. Like Chris and I do some crazy things like that people view as like, wow, you move all the time, you do this, you do that. But like, yeah, and we don't put every X, Y, and Z reason out there for why we do what we do, but we do have reasons for it all. And some of them are just kind of beyond what people could imagine doing.
Yeah.
But when you change your thought process of what's important to you and what you're doing to reach a specific goal, some of the other stuff just gets very quiet. Like the things that I feel like are so loud in people's minds, it
Yeah.
just kind of gets quiet. And it's like, okay, well, if when William died, like nobody
Mhm.
talks about what he wore to school, what car he drove, what
Mhm.
just the dumb superficial thing. Literally nobody talks about that, right? They're like, "Oh my
Mhm.
god, he was so funny.
Yeah.
He saved me from
He
suicide."
made me feel better.
Yes, he was this person for me. Here's who he was as a person. He was funny. He threw things at the wall. He played pranks on his teachers. Like it's who he was and what he did, right? But we get so consumed in shit that doesn't matter.
Mhm.
It doesn't. And I think that's kind of like what I frame most things in my mind about. So when I start to work things up, I'm like, is this real? And also, is it real? Is it serving me? And in the scheme of things, does it matter? Right?
Mhm.
No, like it doesn't. And I would say 9.9 times out of 10, my answer to that is no. And then I've just taught myself, like, okay, so what can we think about that does matter? Or what can we focus on right now? Or
Mhm.
what
Mhm.
can we control? Because at the end of the day, as hard as it can be, and it is a learned skill, I do think
Mhm.
you have to learn to control your mind.
Mhm.
Your mind is super powerful.
Right.
And I think there's tools for that, which you can
Mhm.
probably give us.
Mhm.
But I think one of those things is consuming. We can start with like consuming more positive material.
Mhm. Yeah, I would say there's definitely tools and resources, and that's something you could even do with a quick Google search, how
Mhm.
to stop anxious thoughts, or
Reframe them.
how to reframe my anxious thoughts.
Mhm.
I think before people get to that step, you have to believe that it's possible. And to your point, if you've never experienced something or you've never taken a risk, that can feel like a really big risk to believe that you could actually feel different and think differently. And I think there's a barrier for many people because there is a belief that this is who I am. This is how I'm made. This is how I'm wired. I hear that all the time. Well, this is just the way I am. Like, I'm just stuck with this. And so I would challenge anyone who has that thinking to be curious. I move through the world and I've cultivated this. I work really hard to be curious. What if I'm wrong? What if this could be different? What if, like, just asking that question, because we have brains that want things to be in categories, and we already have categories in our mind. Some serve us really well and some do not. And so our brain is constantly going, where does this go? Where does this go? Where does this go? And if we don't have a place for it, that can lead to things like anxiety or depression or, other things.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's really important for us to be compassionate with ourselves for whatever our current state of mind is, and also curious, because then that's where we could start to maybe choose some strategies.
Mhm.
And I think we've talked about this in other episodes, grief, and especially when it's catastrophic loss and or just a type of loss that really sidelines you, where you're like, was not expecting this.
Mhm.
It's not optional. There's no more question of like, is your back against the wall? Like,
Mhm.
it happened and now you're left dealing with it. And
Mhm.
so I think the more that we cultivate gratitude and compassion and curiosity for ourselves and the people in our world, the more we will be able to move through those things with kindness and resilience and not fall into more complicated things like debilitating anxiety or depression. And I think that's where I feel a lot of purpose, that I want people to know that you are not ever stuck in your thoughts or your feelings, no
Yeah.
matter how permanent they feel,
Yeah.
right? Our emotions are going to show up. We don't actually get to choose the emotions. And I think that can go a lot of different directions, but we do get to choose our thoughts. So once we have awareness and belief, okay, I could choose my thoughts, then we can start practicing tools and or strategies. But I mean, some of my favorite conversations are with like children that I work with, and just introducing this concept like, yes, you actually can choose your thoughts. And they're like, what is this? You are lying, like that is not true. And it's not just children, it's adults too, but a lot of my clients currently are children. And so anyways, it's just really, it's fun, and I think it's rewarding. And so to your point where you're like, the pit in my stomach is what? Like,
Mhm.
how is that related to anxiety? And then you start to realize the more strategies you implement to address anxiety, the better you feel. And
Yeah.
you're not having a pit in your stomach as much.
Mhm.
That is a really nice positive feedback loop that helps us be brave to try other strategies and or to believe that we actually can control our mind and our experiences. Not fully, but
Yeah.
more than just going through life and
Yeah.
reacting.
Yeah. I was thinking while you're saying that stuff is, what if we can give people like kind of like an action plan of like
Mhm,
I don't know, I owned a gym, so my head goes right to like challenge. How do we do this challenge
mhm,
that instills habits, right?
mhm.
And what if we challenge our listeners to 21 days?
Okay.
I don't know, pick a month, pick a day, I don't know,
Yeah.
of doing two things to help get them. Okay, you and I are both on the same page of like mind and body are not separate. They're separate things. They're
They're
not. They
right,
both
they're
impact
connected.
each other, right? So what if
Mhm.
we pick one thing physical and then
Okay.
one thing mental to work on
Mhm.
for 21 days straight? And I would challenge someone who struggles with just anxiety, depression, honestly, anyone. You don't even have to like brand yourself as I struggle with this. Like, I just think
Yeah.
anyone can benefit from it, right? Pick one
Mhm.
thing that's going to make you better physically and one thing that's going to make you better mentally, and do it
Mhm.
every single day religiously for 21 days.
Mhm.
Hopefully you don't stop after the 21 days. But my thought would be the physical thing could be like move your body. Okay. So 5,000
Mhm.
steps, whatever. Or it could be drink water. I'm the worst water drinker in the world. Guys, I don't know. Like I will say the science I will fight is that your body's made of like X percentage of water because I don't know how I have a body. I am a camel. I don't wait, that would be the opposite. Camels store water.
Well,
I don't
that
know.
would be you, because then you don't need it as much if you've got
Yeah,
storage.
I guess.
I
I
guess.
don't. I truly don't know. When people are baffled when they're like, "How do you not drink water?" I'm like, it's in my coffee, I guess." Anyways, so like for me, my physical thing would be like, drink. I'm going to drink water every day, and start small. Do not give yourself a challenge that is so mentally draining that you're like, "I'm not going to hit it today." Do something that you know you're going to hit. Build the confidence, and then we'll move forward. Right? Like
Mhm.
for me, if I drink, this is kind of embarrassing, but it's honest. If I drank a bottle of water every day, that would be progress.
Yeah,
Okay. And I would like to let you guys know I'm starting a 28-day challenge next Monday with the gym I go to. And I have to drink half my body weight in ounces of water.
you got this.
And it is in this moment. I wish I weighed 6.8 pounds like I did at birth because that's about the only water I consume when I brush my teeth.
That's amazing.
People are like, oh God, I show up to the gym this many times a week. I think I'm gonna struggle the most with like tracking my food. I'm like, I'm gonna struggle drinking water. I can
Drinking
literally
water.
do all the rest. Like I have to drink
But
water.
Jen, I think that is the most beautiful fact for people to learn about you as a gym owner, as a fitness enthusiast, like as someone who is healthy and exercises and does all these things.
Yeah.
You don't like water. So you have to really work hard to drink water because it
Yeah.
is a requirement for life. Being hydrated. So I think that's important. And I love that you're adding that into the physical piece of your challenge because I
Yeah.
think a lot of people think physical exercise. It's like, no,
Yes.
honestly, when you say physical, my first two thoughts were water, hydration, and go to bed because
Yes, sleep.
I
Oh
feel
my
like
god.
sleep. And so I think for us to really challenge our listeners with not falling into a pattern of what maybe like the fitness industry has historically
Mhm.
said. I think it's
Yep.
getting much better,
Mhm.
where it's like you just have to exercise.
Yeah.
Your physical thing that you could choose to focus on is whatever is meaningful to you that is going to help your physical existence, your physical body function.
Yes.
And so that could look like exercise, great. It could look like stretching. Most people don't stretch. So if we're going to be real honest, like stretching, it could be one. It could be going to bed at a reasonable time.
Yes.
Could be
Yeah.
drinking water. Could be nourishing your body. Eat
Yeah.
some real food, not, highly processed stuff. So I love that. Pick one physical thing
Yeah.
and
Pick up
and
yeah.
just own it.
Let's pick a physical thing, and that can vary per person.
Right.
Okay. And then I say the other thing that they have to do for their mental, unless you have a better idea, but mine would be that we start with just one thing you're thankful for every day. But you can't
Yeah.
just think that you have to write it down.
Write it down.
It could be a note on your phone, like
Or
start a note
text
on your
it to
phone.
a friend.
Yeah, you could have like accountability friends, text it. You could put it in the House of Halls group,
Yep.
comment on
Do
this,
it.
comment on something on our Instagram. You know
Comment
what?
on our
I'm going to post.
Instagram.
I'm going to post it on our Instagram what our challenge is, and we can put comments there. But every
Money.
single day for 21 days, you have to write down something you're grateful for.
Yeah.
So that we can practice like changing that mindset and starting like I
Did
think
you
that's
just say 28 days? Are we doing 21 or 28?
20. We're doing 21. The
Okay.
gym challenge is 28. I think that's where my brain went. 21
Well,
days.
that's because you're gonna have to keep drinking your water.
So 28 days doesn't sound like a lot until somebody says you got to drink half your body weight in water for all 28 of them.
I feel like I'm doing
Guys,
that
I'm
right
going
now.
to be drowning. If you call me, I'm going to be like gargling.
Cool.
Like, sorry, Liz, I'm drowning in all the water I have to drink. I might have to give up coffee to like make space for the water.
Just count it as half.
I agree. See what I'm saying? Then how many ounces is this baby? Half of it has to be
28.
water. The ice has melted.
The ice melts. Yeah.
It melts.
Possible.
Okay, but for real, 28 days, challenge you guys. 21 days, we challenge you guys. Whenever you're listening to this podcast, you can start. It doesn't actually have to be right this second.
This is for you. This is and we're gonna be supporting you in spirit no matter when you start it.
If you are on YouTube or Instagram or wherever you are watching this, if you have the ability to comment and let us know you're starting it, let us know. Love that.
Yeah,
I will totally check in on you. Would love to
she
hear your
will.
list at the end of what you're grateful for. You know what? Maybe we can do a giveaway.
Okay.
Whoever sent at the end of 21 days. So I'll send a deadline for people to start their 21 days. I'll post it on our Instagram,
Yep.
and they have to send us their list of 21 things at the end. We'll do a deadline to send their list in, and
Okay.
we'll pick one of the lists at random, and they get like a free House of Hall shirt or something.
Love it.
Yeah, we'll do that.
And I'm
So
going to say
and something you're grateful for. A what?
a physical thing and something you're grateful for. And I'm going to say perfection is not real. So if you
Yes.
miss a day, start the
Don't.
next day.
Yep.
I would like to say that it's a 21-day challenge that has to be completed in 28 days. So
Okay.
that is going to give you some grace.
Room
So
for
if
it.
there is a day that you forgot and or only did one of your two things, that still counts. Keep going. Because I think the biggest risk that we have as humans is quitting. We just go, oh, can't do that. Or, oh, I did 5 days and then I forgot. So it's not worth it. It
Yeah.
absolutely is worth it. And I think that's so funny how our brains are like that. And so if you will accept this edit to our challenge, I would
I'm in.
like to
I
build in some room
approve.
for grace. Okay.
Okay. This is the 21-day
Yes.
grace challenge.
Okay.
The 21/28 day challenge.
Yes.
What is the oh my, is it like January 17th or some, there's some day that they titled National, is it Quitters Day or National? It's basically like people that make New Year's
Give up.
resolutions by this specific day, they've quit.
Let's
There's like a
well,
whole day about it. And I feel like I don't remember seeing it before, but this year is like all these
I
things
believe it.
posted about National Quitters Day or something. I was like, that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. But anyways, I mean, like, why would we even label it and like tell people they're quitters because they met? No, this is all about you building a good habit that's going
Yeah.
to serve you in a positive way. That's all we have to do. And we start
Yeah.
small and we go from there.
Heck yeah. And it doesn't have to be any of the things we've said. This is wherever you
No,
take it.
it doesn't. Other than your gratefulness, you do have to pick something you're
Yeah, you
grateful
just
for.
gratitude.
But that's
But
like so personal to you. It doesn't have to be that somebody else would consider it like a big thing. Like, guys, I'm grateful for I feel like some of the things I think of on a daily basis where I'm like, man, I'm so grateful for this. Somebody be like, that's very random and normal. Like everybody has that. And I'm like, okay, but I'm so grateful for it because not everybody does. You
right.
know, like,
I saw an Instagram post that was someone talking about being grateful for a messy house, like shifting
mm,
frustration into gratitude for the mess because it meant that they had children and that they had a home and that they
yeah,
had the
yeah,
things. I thought, oh, I really would have to dig deep. But it's true because when I see a mess, I'm like, I gotta clean that up.
yeah. Like I was grateful for my clean counter and I'm not grateful that you ruined it.
Yeah.
But yes, it is. And I think that's the thing that doing that challenge, there's at some point your brain just kind of triggers to be like, you can literally find gratefulness in the smallest things,
Mhm.
in the things that seem so bad.
Mhm.
People that practice this can find something good in it. I promise you they can.
Yes.
I would
Yes.
even challenge my listen, if there's ever enough people that care, I will sit on a live one day and let people like just throw them at me like, okay, where's the
Mm.
gratefulness in this? I guarantee you I could find something good about it. Sounds a little crazy, but I've practiced it for so long and I've had to
Yeah.
find that in such dark, like I feel like I could choose to be in a very dark place, a very, very dark place a lot of
Mhm.
times.
Mhm.
But if you don't want that and you don't like how that feels, which I don't think anybody
Mhm.
wants or thinks that feels good, then
Right.
you have like yes, there's people that can help, there's tools, there's all these things, but you have to want that for yourself and you have to be
Mm.
willing to figure out what works for you to make those changes to start shifting your mindset. And
Mhm.
eventually you'll get to a point where that is second nature for you. And that's
Right.
you're just a grateful person. But
And that's why we're saying, let's do this. Let's just
yeah.
commit to doing it multiple days
Yep.
in a row because some element will feel more natural to you after.
Mhm.
And it's okay if it feels like work at first.
Mhm. I can guarantee all that water is gonna feel like work for me, so
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm gonna grieve about it every step.
Jen's going to be
What
working to
did your
find
grief look like today?
gratitude.
Drinking water.
I'm drinking my water. Oh, I love water. So I love water and I hear you, but I'm trying to think what's my thing that I would have the same like just kind of feeling about. Um so yeah, I used to feel that way about water, but I feel like I worked really hard to like water in like college. So thankfully I
Right.
do.
It could also be, I want to say too, I feel like your physical thing could be giving something up.
Fair.
It doesn't necessarily have to be adding a habit, but it could be taking away a bad one. I just saw that when you said
That's a good
college
idea.
because on New Year's Eve one year, my New Year's resolution was to give up soda. And it was in college.
What'd you drink?
Huh?
What'd
Would
you
you drink
drink if you don't like
water?
water?
No, I'm just kidding.
Plot twist.
I don't think I drink water either. I just didn't drink thing. I'm not a drinker. Fun facts about me that nobody came to this podcast. I don't like drink like this coffee I have had since what time did I order this baby? 8:45 a.m. It is
Yeah, it's just
1:30 in the afternoon.
impossible.
This is
Yeah.
all I've consumed. Like I
Wait,
don't
that's the only liquid you've had
only
today?
liquid I've consumed. I did drink my greens this morning, but I chug them because it's like this much liquid and I just chug the
Oh,
greens. But this is the liquid I've had today. So I'm just not like, ask Chris, we go to dinner and I'm just like, I'm a sipper. I'm not like I don't know. I'm just, so one of my best friends, he was like, are you just never thirsty? Like, how are you not thirsty? And I said, I have felt true thirst one time in my life. And it was when I was breastfeeding Kenzie. I was always thirsty when I breastfed her and I would chug water, but I was like, I'll finish a workout. And I'm like, I'm good. Like, I don't, it's so weird. It's so weird.
what about when you tumbled? I'm truly fascinated by
No,
this
I'm a
fact.
science experiment. I'm a science experiment. Okay. But guys, I'm going to be a healthy person and drink my water. But all that to say, if you have a bad habit that you would like to stop, like you drink a Coke a day, that's probably like a
Yeah,
healthy thing to try to like
we'll
not drink.
count that.
So that could be, or like, let's start with like half a Coke a day and we'll work our way there. But yeah,
Or go from, if you're drinking Coke 7 days a week, maybe go to 6.
yeah, take it away one day.
We'll get
Something.
there. I know this is supposed to be a consecutive challenge. I'm just thinking through my perfectionism and people who are. And I want you to try something that's meaningful to you. And I don't want you to give up. I want people to feel like we're meeting them where they're at and we're saying, like, let's do it. And we do
Yeah,
want to hear like what you choose or what happens for you.
we do. Let's hear your challenge. Let's hear your physical. And then I would love, love, love if you guys share things you're grateful for. You know what would be super cool is if people would post like on their Instagram story every day, like the thing they're grateful for and tag us so we can share them.
Okay.
Because I think it will put more like positivity out there for other people to see. And then maybe other people start thinking about what they're grateful for. And it's just, we could start a revolution.
Revolution. Okay. Okay, let's end by saying something we're grateful for.
Oh, okay. You first.
I'm so grateful for water. That's coffee in my cup. So I'm totally lying.
I was about to say I'm grateful for my coffee, but I shouldn't go there.
No, okay. You know what I'm grateful for today? I'm grateful for having a supportive husband who is willing to do parenting things alongside me. I'm really grateful for that because we're in the thick of it with 2 little kids. And so I'm feeling very grateful for Jordan.
And he is snuggling that sweet baby right now.
Oh,
Well, I'm doing too because I'm super grateful that you gave up snuggle time, which I offered for you to keep and reschedule this. But you gave up snuggle time to be here. And I appreciate that so much. I'm grateful for it. And I'm really grateful that we were finally able to get our house painted. My big blue house is getting painted beautiful white and neutrals. Because if you know me, black, white, and neutral is how I live my life. So I'm so happy about it. I'm very
the
grateful.
inside and the outside.
A year and a half later, we're able to paint it. So yeah.
Awesome.
All right. Well, loved this. I'm super excited to see results from this challenge and anyone who participates. And I'll keep you guys posted on my water intake.
Sounds good.
Pray for me. All right. I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.